wait for somebody to tell me that the audio is working because I don't know. Let me pull up my little YouTube app on my phone.
Card in time, you will have to wait another 24 months to get it. For those who are not aware,
Elon Musk. It appears Elon Musk could put a Neuralink in your brain and you could just think, stop, and it would activate your brain. That's awesome, Brian. That's awesome, Brian. I gotta get some fluids in me, and the only fluids I have is beer. This is kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was wanting to do one yesterday. I was wanting to do one yesterday, but ran out of time and sunlight. And I'm thinking now that maybe I should just start doing them around 4:30, because that keeps me from going into the stupid, 2-3 hour live streams, which for some reason, maybe it's just my logical self that says, hey, if somebody gets pissed off that you're doing a 3-hour live stream, just go watch something else. But I've had lots of people going like, come on, man, 3 hours, what the hell? Like, shit, I was having fun. People were engaged. People were talking back. There was chat going on, that kind of thing. And, I really don't understand why anybody hangs out in live streams. I really don't. The only reason I make live streams is because I like talking to folks that, what do you call it? Updating. I like keeping people updated. Where the hell's all my damn cups? Oh. All right, I'm making my way out there, folks. Stand by. Kind of slow, and this is the first time I've done a wireless mic setup too, so hopefully this thing's going to work. I'll find out as soon as I get back outside and everybody goes, I can't hear you anymore. That would be awesome. All right, so I've decided after I drank these last two beers that I have, I think I'm going to go on a fast. I feel like crap. I'm eating crappy. I'm drinking too much. And by too much, I mean just every day. Not that That's awesome, Brian. It's not that I drink excessively. I just drink 5-6 days a week. Because I freaking like beer. Give me a second. Let me pour this beer and I'll catch up. I think what I want to talk about today, rather than making a whole video about some of the comments and some of the suggestions, I figured I would just go on and make a live stream and then talk about what I've got planned as far as right now, and then talk about some of the interesting suggestions that I've had. So, oh wow, 15 people showing up. Not an Africa twin. Indeed it is not. Chunky B, what I think is fascinating is either people are just not watching the rest of my videos and they're making suggestions, not having watched the fact that I've already gotten the T7. But yeah, I'm still getting the DCT. You need a DCT transmission. You need an Africa Twin. You need a NC7. I can't remember all the different bikes that I've been suggested. You need to get one of those. And like, hey, anybody wants to throw me an extra bike? I'll take an extra bike. But since I don't have almost any money and almost zero income, I'm sticking with what I got. But I appreciate all those suggestions. At least I've only gotten a couple of trike suggestions in the last couple of weeks. I must have run all those people off. The AT is built for giants. Yeah, I've ridden an Africa Twin. I think it's a fine bike. It's I just felt like it was top heavy, and it's been a while since I've ridden one, but I rode one, I don't know, 40, 50 miles, and it just seemed really top heavy. And everybody says the same thing about this. This is so top heavy, and I'm like, I don't get that. You know, maybe if it's full of fuel and full of luggage, but it handles. I think that's what the difference is. The African Twin handles like it's top heavy. It handles like a very tall motorcycle, and it is. I don't know, very tall. It's tallish. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of those suggestions. Welcome, everyone. Chime in. Let me know where you're from. And if you've watched any of the videos and you know what this thing is behind me, do you know what this motorcycle is behind me? That's the question right now, is have you watched the videos where I go pick this thing up? Do you know the dilemma that I'm in right now as far as rear brakes? Because do you know the handicap that I'm suffering from? I've got a lot of new viewers. I've probably gotten, I don't know, closing on 14. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, closing on 14,000 subscribers, and probably 4 of those are new, like within the last few months this year, which I'm all about the growth. I'm all about getting new subscribers. But I also wonder how many of those people that are subscribed are interested in what I'm doing. And that's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question because if you're not really into motorcycles or adventure or camping, you know, the things that I do, I think that, I don't know, I've had so many people bail in the last couple of months, just unsubscribe. I put out a video about motorcycles and just, I'd lose 5 or 6 subscribers. Like, damn, was it that bad of a video? Because usually when I lose subscribers, I said something that pissed somebody off, you know, which is that's not that unusual for me. I say volatile and controversial things quite often because I don't think people's opinions should be muffled, and I don't muffle my I don't varnish my opinions. But yeah, thinking about the videos as they come out, I was like, man, that's just like that's a 5-minute video about a motorcycle. And, you know, I'm talking about this, I'm talking about that. I didn't say anything controversial, and boom, I'd lose 5, 6, 7. I'm trying to remember it seemed like I lost like 8 subscribers on one video. And usually that means like, you know, I said something really fucking rude or, you know, something inappropriate, or, you know, I don't know. Usually that's what I have found is when I lose a bunch of subscribers, I knew it. I knew it when I made the video. I knew. It's like, oh, this is going to upset some people, but I don't care. I don't care. It needs to be said. Like, I made, how do you know if you're a poser? That was a very controversial video. I got a lot of subscribers with that video, but I lost quite a few. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're too thin-skinned to take a joke or take some commentary about what may actually appear in the mirror, and that's the funny thing. It's like I think a few people got their feelings hurt with that video because I pretty much said, hey, you know, if you do these 5 things, you may be I can't remember. It seemed like it was 5 or 6 or 8. I don't know. Anyway, a few people saw themselves in the mirror and went, oh, he's calling me a poser. I'm like, yeah, maybe not. But, you know, every time I got a nasty comment and they said, so you think if this and that and that I'm a poser? And I was like, well, you know, maybe, but there's a cure. There is an absolute cure for posery. If you spend all your time and effort and money trying to pretend to be something that you're not, all you have to do is stop pretending and just become that. Because this the motorcycle world is covered up in people that are largely here for the image. They largely here because they want to be racer boy, stunter boy, outlaw biker, adventure guy. And so many of those same people have never done anything adventurous, never done anything interesting on their motorcycle. It's an outfit. It's a it's a apparel. It's an image, and I don't know. I can see why those videos piss people off, but that's really not what we're here to talk about today. I'm just curious, the people that are watching, how many people are you feel like a regular viewer, even if you've only been here a few months, if you feel like you're a regular viewer. How many of you know what this motorcycle is and the story behind it and the story behind what my modification needs are currently? I'm real curious. Let me catch up on these. Like top heavy bikes, the higher the better. Yeah, whatever, dude. There are companies out there who make dual brake lever kits so you can pull both brakes or just one with your right hand. Yeah, Genetic J. Pretty much all of the companies that I have seen, I mean, send me a link to something, or send me the name of the company. And you can't post links on YouTube. They don't like it because there's so much spam, and I get it, but it makes it kind of painful. It would be really nice to go, hey, it's a free-for-all on this video, post your links here. But what I'm trying to say, Genetic J, is almost all of the dual lever kits are outrageously expensive, just absurd, and it's just aluminum, It's billet aluminum, polished, and whatever. It's an amazing, space age aluminum, blah blah blah, and they want $1,500 for it. So that's not a solution. That's a good portion of what I paid for this bike. So, and I don't have a budget. Kamikaze Joe, been watching your videos off and on for a while. Loved your stealth camping stuff. Dude, Kamikaze Joe, I'll be back at the stealth camping soon, unless I die first. Recently broke my tibia and fibula and sliced my leg open from the foot peg from ankle to knee. Nasty open fracture. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. I did a tib fib, what was it, 2013 on the same leg, and they stuck a rod in there. I guess you probably got the same thing. And they had to pull the rod out. Not everybody knows this story. I think I probably need to make another video on this. So I had a rod that went from my knee down to my ankle. And when I got my foot torn off, I told the surgeon, I was like, hey, I got a big titanium rod, make sure you know where all that stuff is and pull that out before you start going sawing on my leg. I'd hate for you to go, oh yeah. Ooh, what are these sparks? Anyway, yeah, I feel you, man. Tyler, hey Don, what's up, Tyler? Very glad you're up and about. We had to put our bikes away up here. Of course you did, Tyler. I give everybody hell about riding season, but I don't ride in the snow either, man. If I ride in the snow, I've made a mistake. I have miscalculated the weather. I don't ride in the snow. Brian does. Brian likes to ride. He likes to ride his big Harley in the muddy snow and take his wife through the forest. That's some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. I feel like a regular viewer. Yes, you're a regular viewer, and we hang out, dude. You're next level. You're like top. You're in the top 1% of my viewers, Luke. Nitrous Ninja, when I called your Tenere a crappy little twin, I was just, dude, I got thick skin, dude. From Western Australia, too early for a beer, been following your journey since your accident. Well, welcome, Andy. Mediocre man, Don, I'd say I'm a regular, but I'm what you consider me a hate watcher because I don't like you, man. That's awesome, man. I'm I'm glad you're here to say I'm a hate watcher. I've never heard that term before. That's awesome. Recluse is under $400 for the kit you need. So the kit, I called Recluse. Well, I emailed him. I said, hey, what do you got for my T7? We don't make them for those big bikes. And I was like, yeah, so I can't use your thumb. I think maybe the guy is either not technical enough to answer the question, or he just didn't want to deal with me. Because the next step, if he said, "Oh yeah, we'll get you a kit shipped out," I would have said, "Hey, I know. Why don't you ship me a free kit? Because I'm broke, and I'll do an amazing video about your rear brake LHRB solution, left-hand rear brake solution." That's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm down to begging for. Well, I don't consider it begging. I'm not asking anybody for a handout. I'm asking people for an exchange. Some publicity for your stuff. And I got a lot of videos coming up on that specific topic coming up. My brother-in-law has the 1200 T. 12. Well, where the hell am I? 1200 Tenere and loves it. I think your choice is excellent to get back on the road and dirt again. Yeah, dude, I really like the big Teneres too. Shockingly, for as big as those bikes are, they're shockingly capable. Like the big GSAs, man. It's shocking how such a big bike. Well, you got big KTM's too. I haven't ridden a lot of those, but I've been around enough of them to know that they're quite capable despite their size and weight. And I just don't want to pick the damn things up. Ever. How about engineering a heel brake on the shifter peg? Mr. Cummins, you have not watched one of my videos. I made a 10-minute video about why the heel won't work. In addition to my ankle doesn't move, so in order for a heel brake to work, I would have to pick up my leg, and that's a no-go because I ride in the dirt. So all the engineering problems I've got, and the stuff that I want to talk about today, all that stuff is specifically, I can't use those inputs, those designs, because I have to have my both feet firmly planted on the foot peg. So everybody that's thinking about how they ride and how their friends have highway pegs, that's not me. I'm saying I won't have highway pegs at some point. I don't know. I've never really been comfortable on long trips with highway pegs. It's never been a thing for me. But you never know. I mean, this leg, both my knees get really cramped up, so who knows? But that's a comfort thing. That's not something that I will be doing off-road. I will not be riding with forward controls when I'm off-road. I've got to have my both feet. I have to have both feet planted on the pegs at all times. So to be able to lift my leg up to push the rear brake with my heel, Richard does that. Surprisingly, I can't do it. I'm way too heavy, and I'm way too dependent on my balance being of something that's, and not just that, disaster is waiting. If you think about it, let's say you're going down a big long hill and you're slowly creeping down on that rear brake because it's very steep. You don't want the front to wash out. So you're squeezing on the front just enough where it starts breaking loose, or if you got your ABS on, it starts breaking loose. You can feel it trembling. And all of a sudden you get off balance and your weight immediately goes down on that peg and locks the rear brake up. That's a no-go. That's something that I am not willing to ever consider, just because balance is a big thing, and I don't like locking. Well, you saw what happened the last time my rear locked up. I don't know, maybe you did. But here's the most interesting thing. We'll talk about this before we run out of sunlight. I had dozens. It shocked me. The first two or three comments that I got, hey, why don't you use like a paddle? So they're basically suggesting a paddle for my knee, like a paddle brake. I was like, well, that's kind of an interesting idea. I don't know why I never thought of that. And it only took me like 3 or 4 seconds to go, no, that won't work either, because if you don't ride off-road, if you don't ride over rough terrain, you don't understand the need for balance. So most people think when they're riding their motorcycle, especially if you're riding on the street, you've never done any dirt, you don't understand. But if you've ever ridden dirt bikes, if you ride dual sports, and you ride nasty stuff, and that's kind of what I do. I'm going to limit my nasty stuff riding, but there's nasty stuff on pretty much every damn road that I've ridden on in the last 12, 15 years. There's nasty stuff. Ruts, holes, trees, and you've got to depend on your ability for your body, especially your lower body, to balance the bike. And part of that balance comes from your feet and from your knees. So to be able to balance your bike, a lot of times you'll see guys. I mean, watch somebody on a motocross track. Typically they've got their knees either very close or pinned to the tank, just above the seat. They're using their knees to balance themselves on the bike, to keep from getting thrown off the bike, to move the bike in certain directions. And it's very essential that you have that ability to push your knees into the bike. Same with pushing your knees into the pegs. So once you take that away, once you say, well, you can no longer do that, because every time you push your knee into the tank, into where that lever, paddle, I think pedal was a consistent. What about mounting a pedal? I think it's an interesting idea, but it's just not going to work. Anything off-road, and I would say probably the same thing on the street. I would hate to be going around a corner and lean into a turn, and oops, I activated my rear brake, and oops, I just wasn't thinking, whatever. I don't want anything to do with that. So I'll probably have to make a video of this, because I keep getting the same suggestions. The first 3 or 4 comments, I was like, hey, that's interesting. And more than one person had it. Now it's dozens of people that have said paddle brake for your knee. It's an interesting suggestion, but I think the people that are making those suggestions probably don't ride off-road. Same thing for people that are going, oh, you just need something for the heel. Yeah. I've ridden a cruiser before. It had heel shifters. That was really cool. I like that. But also, I could easily pick up my leg. This thing, not so much. And I certainly can't. I don't have any feeling in my feet. The only feeling, I've said this several times, the only feeling is in this part of my leg right here, where the prosthetic goes up and hits my thigh, underneath my thigh. That's really the only place that I have a whole lot of feeling, pressure-wise. So I know if I push down on my leg, I can feel pressure there, but I can't feel anything down below. You can conceptualize, okay, something's pushing on my foot because I feel something right here, but you can't feel anything down here. Like even with big, thick motocross boots on, I could feel my levers. I could feel my shift lever on this leg. I can't feel anything on my right leg. So anyway, just kind of a heads up of why the paddle lever is not going to work. Amazing how many folk go to the bike shows with a car and sit on every bike for a selfie. Yeah, they wouldn't be sitting on my bike. I'm not that touchy about my bike. I just think it's a bad, what do you call it? It's very fucking rude to touch people's vehicles. And I learned this lesson a long time ago. I think I was 17, 18, 19, and a buddy, I think I was sitting up against his car, and we're all driving around in hoopties at the time, but he had this really nice Mustang. It wasn't really nice. It had chip paint, but he loved this car. And he cussed me out. And I was like, at the time, I was like, damn, what an asshole. But, still, I was 17, 18. No. I was 18 or 19. Anyway, it was kind of an eye-opener, because I was like, wow, I didn't know people felt so strongly about cars. And then, and then I started seeing that same behavior in other people for many years. And it's like, I'm not real touchy about my bike. If you ask me to sit on my bike, yeah, sit on it, man. Be careful. The pipes are hot. Your kid wants to sit on there and take a picture of your kid. Sure. But don't be jumping on anybody's bike. Don't be touching people's cars. Freaking hit enter before I inserted the emoji. A Honda Blackbird Double X has linked brakes. There's the other one. Thank you, Nitrous Ninja, for the 100th. You win the award for the 100th link brake comment. So that's the other one. Link brakes. They do not work in an off-road situation. Can you slow down? Sure. But it's an engineer's idea of how much distribution of your brakes you need for your front and your rear. Kind of same way with ABS. We never want to slow your wheel spin down below this certain point. The engineers have said if you slow your wheel spin down below this point, that your wheels lock up and you're entering the danger zone. I don't want an engineer to tell me when I can lock my wheels up and when I can't, especially when I'm off road. So link braking is a no-go, never will be. But I also find it interesting that everybody, after I get this bike, everybody's, oh, well, you need to buy this bike. Like, did you not watch the video where I bought this bike? Did you not watch the video that, so I've got to solve the problem on this bike, and it will be solved, or it won't, but it won't be, the solution will not be getting another bike. It will not be link brakes. I will never have link brakes on a bike. That's just, that's, like I said, it's an engineer deciding on what's appropriate for my riding, and they absolutely will not work in the dirt. Could it be possible that I could go down a steep, gravelly, slippery hill on a linked braking system? Yeah, maybe, but I don't want to find out that it doesn't work the hard way. So I would rather much rather rely on my braking skills, even with a bad leg, even with a weird handbrake. I would much rather rely on myself than some engineer. So, and that sounds arrogant and pompous, but I think if you just ride off-road in the dirt, and I think that's the biggest problem is most people don't really understand dirt riding, going down slippery stuff, going up slippery stuff. It's a whole different world, and I always encourage people that are thinking about riding a motorcycle. I say always, and very rarely does anybody take me up on the suggestion of, don't go get a street bike for your first bike. Go get a cheap dirt bike that you can resell. Go get a XR 100 and go have fun in the dirt. Learn how to ride without tragedy. Don't learn to ride the hard way. The hard way is on the street with a big 800-pound bike beneath your ass. And it's very expensive. You get like little XR 100, little 200, 300, 400 cc bikes, cheap. And you learn how to do it in the dirt. All those concepts of traction, steering, they pretty much all translate to the street, and the consequences of making mistakes in the dirt are so much lower than they are on the street, to your body, to your motorcycle, and to the length of your riding career. All that stuff is. Other on the shifter peg, but I like your thumb brake on the shifter peg. I'm not really sure what that means. Don, are you happy for me since I ordered a Ninja H2 last Thursday? The bike comes in January. This may be the last run of H2s. Man, I guess I'm happy for you, dude. You have a very small world. You have a very tiny, small world, and I'm glad you're enjoying being in your high-performance motorcycle. Show me some pictures of you cornering on that high-performance motorcycle, man. I want to see you. I want to see you dragging a knee on that H2 in a corner. Otherwise, I don't really, drag strips. I'm guessing that's where you like to hang out, man. That's not my thing. Show me the pictures. Show me the pictures of you dragging a knee in a corner on an H2. I don't like back brakes. Yeah. There's some people that don't ride the chopper guys. I've known a bunch of chopper guys that delete the front brakes because they don't like that big cable coming up there. They don't like a big reservoir. They don't like all that stuff. It doesn't look cool. They'll run the only cables on the bike through the handlebars to make it look cool, and they just delete the front brake, which I just think is insane. But you know, main thing is looking cool for chopper guys, right? I guess I'm a regular viewer since I know the bike's origins and about the rod removed from the amputation. Am I correct to assume the master cylinder relocate won't work? So the master cylinder is not the big issue. From everything that I've seen so far, what I'm hoping to do is this master cylinder is probably going to go away. I'm not really sure, understand the complexities of fluid dynamics when it comes to brakes, but the stuff that I've seen people fabricate is basically a left-hand reservoir. There's two options. There's cable operated, and the cable, I don't know if I can show you that or not. The cable operated might be the dead simplest. I'm just not sure how that's going to work out. So I don't know if y'all can see this. Let me move over just a tad. All right. So it's probably not enough light out here. Let me see. See if I can tilt this thing down here. You see how that looks. I can't zoom in on this camera, I don't think. Ooh. All right, so the cable actuated, it could be a cable coming from anywhere, left or right or whatever. But there, I have seen a kit, and I can't remember if it's Ox or Clake that makes it. But basically, it's an extension. So if you see this thing, you can see the piston coming up in here into the master cylinder. What they offer is an extension on this, but I'm afraid that would go too far out, too close to this exhaust. But it's basically an extension that your cable pulls that up. I like that. I think that would be very simple, but I'm afraid that I might not be able to get enough pressure on the cable with a thumb. The other one, the one that's most that I've seen the most of, is taking, let's see, this is the feed for the master or the reservoir here. You take this out. There's no detail. There's no here buy this insert. But basically, you're taking an insert out of this and taking the reservoir and the fluid from up here on the left brake and pushing that down into this, and then that operates. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know because there's not anybody that says here's how you can do this on any motorcycle. It's just here's how I did it on my bike, and there's not a whole lot of detail. So I'm sure the detail is out there. I just haven't found it yet. That's what I'm looking for. Left-hand rear brake, and I know Recluse has one. I've gotten all the links for the people that have the kit, but the problem with the kits are they're outrageously expensive. Recluse might have one of the cheapest solutions, and I really like the solution that it's got. It's got this rack type adjustment that you can move the thumb lever in and out. I really like that idea. I could see even mounting that down lower somewhere and moving the thumb. I like adjustability, so I really like that. But it's $400 and something, and I don't even know if it'll work. So it would be nice. It'd be nice if Recluse sent me an email back and said, "Hey man, we've got something. If you'll do all the stuff, if you'll run the hoses, if you'll run the hoses and do the adapters, I could do all that stuff." The stuff that I don't understand really well is how I'm swapping out that fluid reservoir input for a pressure regulated input. So in other words, I'm taking fluid up at the handlebar and pushing it down into where the fluid comes in. I'm not smart enough about brakes and how they work to modify them like that. So in other words, if I'm relocating this somewhere else, no big deal. But if I'm taking pressurized fluid, hydraulic fluid, basically, if I'm moving that from another source and going in a different port, I don't want to screw anything up. I mean, it's not like I'm using the rear brakes now anyway, but anyway. I'll be 70 on May 5th and may be the oldest person to purchase a Ninja H2. Happy for you, dude. Hey man, why not stick the rear brake where the front brake is, or have a custom brake lever on top of the front brake so you can choose whichever you want to apply, sort of like shifter's 10-speed. So right now, the idea is, and I'm pretty sold on this because I've really struggled with how am I going to operate multiple controls. And this is what I've come down to logic-wise. My mind tells me that logically, brakes are on the right side. So my mind is going to immediately default to brakes are on the right side. Front brake, rear brake, right? If brakes are on the right side, then all I got to do is use one of those fingers, an extra finger, to push a lever to operate the rear brakes. That's what I'm thinking. And up until I start looking over here at the real estate on this handlebar, there's not really, I've seen somebody put one over here, but they move stuff around a lot and it's a very thin mount. And maybe I could do that. Maybe that's the solution. But my guess right now is it's probably going on the left-hand side for a couple of reasons. Number one, real estate. Number two, if you think about it, I do a lot of, I would say, advanced riding techniques with clutch, throttle, and brake. So there's 3 controls there that I use a good bit with the way I ride. It's something that we teach at Motorcycle Gymkhana. I don't want to say it's relatively advanced, but it is. For most people have never heard balancing your bike with clutch, throttle, and brake. So using those 3 controls, I start thinking, okay, geographically, where are those 3 controls? Well, clutch is on the left side, throttle and brake are on the right side. So now I'm thinking, okay, I've already got 2 controls over here on the right side, and I'm going to add a 3rd control over here. It's going to be a whole lot for my brain to handle, a lot of modification potentially for real estate, moving those controls around. But I'm thinking it's just going to get in my way. So I'm thinking 2 controls over here, 2 controls over here, and just kind of balance it and just figure out how to route my brain around, okay, throttle, brake. So if you think about that's kind of where I'm at right now. And what I would like the discussion going forward is not you need to buy a new bike, not you need link braking, not you need a DCT transmission. The solution is not buying a new bike. It's absolutely not buying a new bike. The solution is going to be on the handlebars. So the question I've got for y'all, if anybody's done anything or know anybody that's done anything, sell me on the left-right solution. I'm not completely against squeezing another lever, except every other lever solution that I've seen is outrageous. It's 2 levers, 2 fancy aluminum levers that are $1,500. That's almost everything I've seen. So the comments that I would rather have, other than the same ones, there's not going to be any knee controls. That's not going to work for me. I hope I've explained that pretty well why that's not going to work. But I'm really fascinated by how so many people came up with that same solution, and I've never even thought about that. But so there's no knee thing, there's no foot thing either side. There's no foot thing either side. I'm not putting the brakes on the left side either. On the left peg side. I can't even imagine that. Well, I guess I could. I guess I could probably. Yeah, I don't know why that. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I don't know. Maybe somebody said heel on the left side. Maybe somebody said that tonight. Maybe I just missed it. If the first few words were heel, I probably ignored the rest of the post, the rest of the comment, because I'm like, heel. Yeah, so you didn't watch the last two videos I made. Okay. Yeah, it may sound like I'm mad. I'm not really mad. I'm just frustrated because it's not like I don't say the same things over and over anyway. I forget what the things that I've said, but I know that I've said a lot of the things that I've said 10, 15 times. Just, okay. This is your first video. This is your first live stream that you've seen of mine. I sound like a dick, but I'm just trying to limit the noise. I'm trying to limit the noise. I'm just really fascinated, again, with the whole knee thing. I don't think anybody's ever seen that before. But I'm amazed that a lot of people said, well, just put a little paddle over here for your knee. I'm trying to think there probably should be a good solution. That should be a good solution for something. And I'm not sure what. It maybe somebody saw it on a spider or a trike or something, and somebody that doesn't have any lower legs. I don't know. I just think that's interesting that so many people had that same solution and it just came from out of nowhere. Soft sand silt. Yes, the dude. Handbrake under clutch. I like that's left hand rear brake. It's got an acronym, LHRB. That's how common apparently those things are. If you think of four-wheelers, watercraft, they got the throttle over here, right? Same thing, except maybe not cable actuated. So in other words, it's basically looks like it's got a reservoir. Tank goes into another I'm starting to get tired. It goes into another master cylinder up top, and that may be what I wound up doing is just it looks like these type master cylinders, it looks like they're all the same. It looks like they came out of the same plant. They all came out of a stamped aluminum plant that, this one says Brembo on it, which means this was $500 as opposed to I've seen some kits on Amazon and eBay and all, $40. $40 for the lever, the adjustable lever, the reservoir, and some tubing to go somewhere. I'm not really sure where it's supposed to go. What would be really nice is, I would be interested in paying double that if somebody said, here's the instructions that you need to modify this brake down here. But I have not been able to, either I don't know how to search or I haven't found it yet, but maybe it's out there. Maybe it's I saw one clip of a guy doing pretty much what I'm talking about doing, and I think he was doing the Recluse kit, which comes with the adapter, I guess, that maybe that's what I'm missing is the kit that the Recluse comes with everything you need, tubing and everything, which would explain why it's $400. But I really like the Recluse design because that lever goes in and out, unlike anything else I've ever seen. So it's got this adjustable rack, like a rack and pinion. I'm not sure exactly I can't really see the internal design, but the lever moves in and out, so you can adjust it exactly where you want it. So maybe you want it way the hell out here, maybe you want it right there. But apparently it's fairly common in off-road dirt riders, especially like single track enduro guys that are doing exactly what I'm trying to do. But I've always wanted an option for my rear brake, and I made a little tutorial of something I learned a while back. When you're going down nasty stuff and your rear sliding all around. All you're trying to do is keep the bike up, which is really important when you're loaded down with a bunch of crap on the tat. What I learned years ago is that since you may need 2 feet outriggers, balancing the bike, going down steps, going down nasty stuff that if you don't manage to keep the bike upright, it's gonna tragedy. The first time I demonstrated it was on Black Bear Pass, which is, I'm on a very tall dual sport going down those steps, and I'm basically pointed down. And if I fell over on the right, I'd hit the wall. If I fell over on the left, I would drop down 40 feet, 150 feet, fall into a waterfall. It would have been tragic. So the consequences were high. So I just basically decided, okay, I really need to use both feet. I'd feel a lot more comfortable. It's terrifying. Black Bear Pass is terrifying. Go back and watch that video if you want something interesting to watch. But basically, I'm slipping and sliding down these steps, and then it comes down to a right-hand turn. And basically, I was just like, I really need my right foot. And right now, my right foot is the only thing that's keeping my bike from, pitching over. I was like, this is really bad. So I just cut the engine off and clutched my bike down. So that was the first time I've demonstrated that alternate braking system. And not many people think of a clutch as a brake, but when your engine is off, your clutch operates as a brake as long as you have it in gear. Anyway, I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Unless you guys have any more suggestions. There's 48 people in here. Oh my. Hand brake under clutch. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, J Stape. I'm thinking a lever. That's pretty common. I've saw one guy riding on the track with it, but it also looked like he had a recluse in his racing bike. So he was doing a track day or something. I'm not really sure. But he was hitting it. The only time I ever saw him use the clutch is when he was leaving the pit. So he left the pit on the clutch, and then the rest of the time he was out there, he was using his brake to balance or slow. I'm not really sure. He probably had one of those shift kits, the little button operated shift kits, but I didn't see him hitting any buttons. Maybe I just wasn't looking close enough, but he had the camera aimed right at his thumb. So he was using that rear brake a lot in the corners, that's kind of how I ride. I could learn how to ride differently, but that's kind of how I've been riding for the last decade. So, especially off-road, man, I need rear brakes. So anyway, I installed a navigation system, a GPS navigator, all-in-one system with front and rear cameras. It's pretty cool little gadget. Finally got that installed. It's working really well. I need to pull the video off of that because I want to make a review video of that. I put a tall windshield on here because that was my one complaint, that there was a lot of buffeting. Anything over 65 miles an hour, there's a lot of buffeting. It's very irritating, and that's the one thing I don't like about this bike, the way it was set up. Everything else is perfect for me. I was like, well, that's one of the first things I'm going to do is get a taller windshield and see if that takes care of it. Got the taller windshield. It wasn't quite tall enough. There's still a lot of buffeting, so I was like, I can get one of those little clamp-on deflectors that you put on the top of your windshield that actually really work well. I used one on my on the V-Strom I got in Hawaii. I put one on there. It made a huge difference. It was a taller windshield on that one, but it wasn't quite tall enough. And the tall windshields are ridiculous. And I rode that bike in ridiculous places. So I didn't want a taller windshield, but I was like, $20. I wonder if this little deflector will work. And it worked great. But I looked at that. I was like, piece of plastic for $20, or some windshield brackets, extenders, with a track that you can raise and lower the windshield. So they were both $20. I was like, so all in, I've got a new windshield. Got a new windshield for the bike for $80, and it's yeah, it's not huge. I'll probably be able to take it. This is not a single track bike. I mean, you may have the skills to do that. I've ridden heavier bikes on stupider places, but I think that's approaching the limit. You know, the nasty stuff, I'm not going to do much of that on this, but it would be really nice for me to take this thing from the highway to camp, which might be 4 or 5 miles. It might be 30 or 40. But the worst thing that I have found when I'm riding, when I'm looking for a camp, the worst thing that I have found is you're riding up to Paradise and you see this little perch up there on the side of the mountain, and you're like, oh man, if I could just get up there. And then you start seeing ruts, and you start seeing holes, and you start seeing branches in the road, and you start seeing big nasty rocks, and you know, some of that stuff still might turn me around, but it definitely would have turned me around on the Tiger. A lot of that nasty stuff, and you know, it's a big heavy bike, doesn't have a whole lot of suspension. This has got a ton of suspension. In other words, it's got a ton of suspension travel, which is the one thing that most bikes that I ride don't have a lot of. And this one, on the entire Transamerica Trail, this bike bottomed out. In other words, I cased it out twice on the whole way over there. So I was really proud of that. And the stuff that I should have been casing it out on before, I didn't. And I was just like, wow, this is great, man. I only cased it out twice on the whole trip. And we rode over some nasty stuff. Some really nasty stuff in Colorado. But so I got that windshield, got my top box. I think I shot some other video modifying this top plate on the top box. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything interesting about that. Richard had a Roto Packs 1 gallon fuel thing mounted to the other side. And I was like, let me see how hard it is to get this thing out of here, because I think you're just supposed to plop the valve and it pops out. Well, it was already popped. It was just hanging there. I was like, I wonder why this thing hasn't fallen out. It's like, because you can't get it out of there. Anyway, I may cover that on a future thing. But right now, that's it. My main issue is brakes, and then trying to find some affordable, cheap luggage. Unless you guys have some soft luggage. I've got those Jivvy cases over there, but man, I don't know. I would have to be in a pinch to put those on here. I can mount them on there, but they leak. I don't want anything that leaks. I want waterproof or relatively waterproof. When it rains, those things just leak. This top case, this guy, doesn't leak at all. Doesn't leak at all. That's my electronics box. It's lockable. I don't have to worry about it. I can go into the store and not have to worry about people getting all my camera gear, my laptop, and all my goodies. But I guess unless you guys have any questions, I'll line this thing up. 46 people and no comments. We must have a lot of new folks in here. Yeah, I just get started, man. I get started and I forget that I've been talking for, how long have we been in here? It should say. So any questions? Anybody got any questions? Any comments? Anything that I need to know about? I'm looking for suggestions. What I'm not looking for is DCT transmission, because those don't fit in this bike and they're expensive. Trike, Spider, link brakes, paddle. Already covered that in the first video. Knee paddle, interesting concept. Maybe they should make them. Maybe somebody does make those. I think if there was a real application, somebody probably should make that. I just can't imagine what it would be, especially something that goes off-road. I can't imagine, because I use my knees, man. I use my knees to balance. So of all those things, those are the things that I'm not really willing to consider. But most importantly, if you guys come up with hey, I know a guy that did it, and here's how he did it. I need left-hand rear brake, lever, reservoir, running tubing down to this master cylinder down here. And then how do I adapt it? Because what you can't do apparently is you can't do a double banjo, because all that does is push the brake, the lever out. That's all it does. And apparently you've got to do something with the valve that's taking fluid from the reservoir. I don't really know anything about that. I've seen a guy do it, but he didn't give any detail. So if you guys know anything about that, that would be lovely. And other than that, I don't know. I'm working on some review stuff. Like I gotta review this DVR/GPS navigation system. It's actually pretty cool. I had somebody else gave me one. Apparently they gave a bunch of YouTubers. Carp Your Ride is the name, and Piece of Shit is their game. They gave me one, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna really like that. It looks really well built, but it failed. I could not get the thing working, and I called them, and they were, do this, do that. It was a nightmare. And I finally opened it up, got in there in the guts, and redid some of the mounting hardware, which is just cheap crap. Basically, is a piece of shit cell phone guts on the inside. And anyway, I never talked about that. I think I may have talked about it up in when I was in Chicago. But yeah, that's a piece of junk. But this has got the best of both worlds. It's a navigation system, and it's got front and rear DVR, which is really cool. But yeah, that should be coming up this week. And windshield, I think people should see the windshield just to see, they understand that, you know, there's options out there. I kind of wish I would have gotten that little clamp on thing just to see, because those are so cheap. It may help a lot of you guys that are just getting a lot of buffeting on your bike, especially if you're big. If you're tall like me and your head sticks up too far. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks for hanging out. More videos this week, probably Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. I don't know what I'm gonna do this weekend. I need to go ride my motorcycle. It's been 3 beautiful days, and I have felt like crap, and I just wasn't feeling it. Maybe tomorrow. It's supposed to rain tonight, and it's gonna be really cool tomorrow, like 60 degrees. So maybe I'll get out and ride again tomorrow. But like I said, I just hadn't been feeling it, man. What's up with that? See you guys.